Hello and welcome to the show. Today I'm not in the audio booth, so expect to hear some interruptions in the background. And today is going to be a random episode, so it's probably going to be a lot to talk about. So let's just head straight into it. This, okay, well, I'm looking at a couple of notes that I made during one of the family meetings that I had that I orchestrated, but this was a long time ago. I think this was maybe two weeks ago. Because on a previous podcast episode, I spoke about how sometimes in my engagements with clients, I like to structure it as a family meeting where we're going to have a meeting with the whole house. You know, MD, CEO, entrepreneur, whoever it is going to be there. Several members of the team are going to be there. Employees are going to be there. Because sometimes I'm called in to do a very simple thing, like give a talk. Excuse me. But I don't think just coming in, collecting your money, and then giving a talk for 1 hour is going to be the best use of time. So when I come into some organizations, especially organizations that can be categorized as SMEs, you know, the sort of thing that all of us can fit inside one boardroom. You know, we don't need a massive space because you're not at that level of 100 employees yet. I try to structure some of these engagements as family meetings so that, yes, I come and deliver the talk that members of the executive, members of people who own the business want me to preach. So I come and preach the gospel that they want me to preach. But then I also like to make it a family meeting kind of atmosphere, ferment some trouble, and tease out some of the underlying problems that we have in the organization from a sales and business development perspective. So that by the time I leave that engagement, we should be able to say that I not only came here and I spoke about XYZ, but at the end of the meeting, we're able to unearth, you know, 2-3 problems related to these sorts of things. And then these are the action points for trying to get this thing resolved. So that's how I try to structure some of these things. So it's not just that I show up and collect your money and leave, but I show up and I say exactly what it is that our guy wants me to say. But then again, I also tease out a couple of problems that you guys as a business need to work through from a sales and business development perspective so that the business grows ultimately at the end of the day. Because, you know, I'm not good at that whole motivational stuff. So I can't come in and get everybody pumped up and then just leave. I want to be sure that we have 2-3 problems on the table. We've assigned responsibility for who is going to tackle these sorts of problems. And then if we end the day that way, I think that is... I think that is time well spent. Also, so that I can call back in a couple of weeks to say, hey, how far post family meeting? How are things going? What about this initiative, that agenda, this particular issue? How far with this? How far have we gone with this? How far have we gone with that? And I take this approach because I'm trying to get businesses to grow here. I'm not trying to just show up and motivate people and then collect money and then leave. So today I'm going to go over some of my notes. That's why this is going to be a random episode, because it's not like I took the time to gather my thoughts after this engagement. So yeah, it'll just be a random exploring of some of the issues that we had at said family meeting. Well, before we begin, I'd like to give a listener shout out to Charles Odutola, listener of the podcast, who reached out to me on LinkedIn. He's a sales and business development professional, and he's put in some work with Glovo. To be honest, I'm not sure what Glovo does. I know, I just see their delivery, what do you call this thing? Delivery Okada, you know, delivery bikes. I see delivery bikes all over Abuja, and then, you know, I see their banner online, LinkedIn, you know, stuff like that. So he's done some work with Glovo, and then he has also done some work with a much more traditional business. When I say traditional, I mean old school, non-tech, with PZ Cousins. PZ Cousins, some of you might not be familiar with them, but they make, how will I say it, like consumer stuff. Like, for those of us who grew up in the 80s, we should be familiar with Imperial Leather soap. So that was made by PZ Cousins, and yeah, that was the good old days. You know, nice, friendly soap the whole family can use. No bleaching, no perfume, no nothing, just correct soap. So, Charles Odutola, he has done some work there. If you're curious and you want to reach out to him on LinkedIn, be sure to let him know that you heard about him over here on the podcast. I tried to find out if he had any side hustle or anything in particular he would like me to shout out, but he said, no, I should just keep it that simple. So Charles Odutola, thank you very much for listening to the show. For those of you who listen to the show and who would like an opportunity to have a chat with me, I give my contact details at the end of every show. Matter of fact, I might as well just do it right now. So you're listening on the show, you want to hit me up, you want us to have a chat, there are a couple of questions that you would like us to explore. The phone number is 080-6466-2140, and the country code is +234. So you call and I don't answer, send an SMS or send a WhatsApp message. I'll definitely hit you back as soon as possible. Then I'm on LinkedIn as well. That's where I spend most of my time. So if you check me on the other social media, I probably will get back to you in a month or two. But you hook up with me on LinkedIn, definitely you get a response from me in a few hours. Worst case scenario, maybe 24 hours. So the name to look for is Tavishima Ayede. I'm the host of the show. You just look at the link where you're currently listening to this episode. You see my name there, highlight it, copy and paste. And you see my handsome face on LinkedIn, and then send me a connection request, and then we can get acquainted that way. So Charles Odutola, thank you very much for listening to the show. And thank you for the rest of you who also lend me your ears every other day to listen to the good stuff that we talk about over here on the podcast. Now, the company in question where I had this family meeting with, what I referenced earlier, they're in the education space. They have education products for children between the ages of 13 to, I can't remember, but, like that kind, secondary school into early university. And the focus is on, they have coaching cards and some software products that are supposed to teach computer fundamentals, introduction to IT, teach online safety. Online safety is really, really important. I didn't know how much it was a big deal until I had kids, because, these days kids want to do everything. And if you just release them, onto the internet, in the beginning, children are very naive, very trusting. They don't realize the level of threats that might be out there on the internet. Because like my son, I let my son loose on, when he was younger, on Minecraft. I think Minecraft or Roblox or one of these things. Maybe Minecraft. And, he was happy meeting people over on the internet. But there were these questionable characters who were trying to jump him in the online space. My son just thought it was good fun, but I told him, look, like, exit this room. Like, these people are actually trying to hurt you. Like, they think it's anyway, let me not go into details. Let me just say that there are all kinds of random characters that are out there online. So online safety is a thing. So people who come up with these kind of products to make sure that our children, whether very young or early teens, are protected, stuff that is greatly needed. Then let's see what else. Okay, they also have educational products around what else? Internet fundamentals, and then mobile computing, all those sorts of things. So those are the products that the company has, and that was what they're trying to roll out into the market. Then in the meeting, like I said, I try and make these things like family meetings. So Oga CEO was at the meeting. The director for digital marketing was at the meeting. The head of social media was at the meeting. The person responsible for sales was at the meeting. And then I think 2 people responsible for developing the IT infrastructure were at the meeting. And I can't remember who else. But this is the kind of level of buy-in that I try to get within the organization, because when it comes to engagements, when we're trying to solve problems with your business, even though I'm a sales and business development perspective and I'm being called in to solve sales challenges, you will find that I'm going to be making recommendations that will impact different aspects of the business. So it's really, really important that we have buy-in from these people, and people are there from the jump, so that it's not as if I came in and I spoke to one person and then I leave, and then you're having problems with implementing because, the head of digital marketing was not there at the meeting. The person doesn't understand the recommendations, doesn't understand the initiative, and then we don't get a sense of how these recommendations are going to tie in with all the marketing that you guys are already doing as a whole. So that's also another reason why I try and get as many relevant players involved as possible. If you notice, I didn't insist for the head of accounting to be here at this meeting. So If you get in touch in the future, we're having these conversations, and yes, I'm here to cure sales problems or revenue problems that you're having. I will be asking for other people, and this is why. So it's not just me wasting your time, or it's not because I don't have anything better to do, or it's because I'm just pulling in your staff, for staff's sake. But Oga CEO, if you can be there for a couple of meetings, this is the reason why. You need to know what's up. You need to get a sense of what we're discussing. You need to get a sense of what the recommendations are. If it doesn't align with the overall strategy and vision that you have for the business, this is the point where you're going to say, okay, yes, this makes sense. But because of this is where we're trying to grow the business, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So let it not be that I will come in, make recommendations, and then leave. And then you will now say, toss out everything because it doesn't align with the overall business trajectory. So, Oga CEO, most likely, I will have you come in at a couple of engagements just to be sure that everything is aligned strategically. If you guys have a digital marketing person, director for marketing, whatever it is that you call it, I would like to make sure that marketing person, you have to be there as well. Whether we're making changes, recommendations to copy or to strategy, it's nice to have you on board. Let's see what else. Okay, sales, definitely. Whoever is running sales, person has to be there. Then social media, for the same reason. And that's why we had all these people on board. And then we discussed a number of things because the government has a national digital literacy framework that has 8 competencies, 8 things that people are supposed to know, that our children are supposed to know, for those of us who have kids. And then the products were built along that. So we had some conversations around government timelines, for rolling out of this national framework. Because when you're trying to bring out a new product into the market, every bit of traction that you can get would help. So in this case, if there's a national initiative and the government is already spending time and money to publicize this thing, promote this thing, roll out this aspect, roll out that aspect, these are things that you can newsjack on if you are a business in this space. So what is the government doing? What are their timelines? When are they rolling out? As the government roll out, you roll out. Because the thing is, in the news, you can link to different aspects of the government publications or government websites to show that what you're talking about is relevant and timely and things like that. So we discussed the government timelines around the rollout, and let's see what else. Then I tried to get a sense of what the problems are with their sales that they were trying to solve. Then let's see. Okay, I also wondered if they had a contact list for tech training hubs, because those can be what do you call these things? There's some talk nowadays online about channel partners. Yes, channel partners. Now that's a good way to explore your market and get new customers. Now the idea behind partners is very old. It's nothing new. It's just that now, now our tech brothers and tech sisters, they always like to give fancy names to things that already exist. So now you call it channel partners. But back in the day, my wedding photography day, I mentioned how those of us who are trying to enter the game at that time, we were trying to hook up with wedding planners that have already in the game, like they already have customers. And the scope was that if we hook up with these wedding planners and we do a good job, we should be able to get new customers from there. So essentially, this practice that people already do in businesses is what people now call a partner channel strategy. Is it partner channel strategy? Channel partner strategy? Whatever it is that is called. There's partnership and there's channel that is also there in the name. So it's a fancy name, but people have been doing this thing from T. You're getting into a space. You look for who already has access to the customers that you're trying to reach. You partner up with that person. Hopefully, you're going to be able to get new customers from there. So that's why I asked about whether they had tech training hubs on the contact list, because that'll be a good channel, partner channel strategy. Channel, whichever way it is, it'll be a nice way to gain access to the market. Then let's see. Okay, they also did some interesting work because they had been consulting with government stakeholders like the UBEC I can't remember what UBEC stands for. I should have written all this thing down. Sorry, forgive me. But one day I'm going to have a production assistant who's going to do all the research to make sure that the definitions, the acronyms, the everything pans out. But if you just check Google, I'm sure you find it. I think UBEC has to do with Universal Basic Education something. And, sorry, excuse me. The cold, as usual. So I think UBEC, those are the people who are responsible for making sure that all our children receive an education, at least a basic level of education. I can't remember what the mandate is, whether everybody is supposed to go to primary school, is it primary school or secondary school? I can't remember what it is that's supposed to be. And so they were talking to government regulators, and that was really, really good because when you're trying to roll out into a new space, if it's your new product, you need to consult with as many stakeholders as possible. Because remember that in the early days, when you're coming out with a new product, what you're trying to figure out basically is there a problem, first and foremost? Because you might look at something and you think that, look, this thing makes sense, this thing is tight, this thing is this thing is that, this thing is important. But the thing is, if nobody else in the market thinks that there's a problem, then you're just wasting your time. If customers don't think that there's a problem, other stakeholders in the market don't think that there's a problem, then you're just wasting your time. So if you come up with this kind of product and you think it's the best thing since sliced bread, but government regulators say there's no problem, parents say there's no problem, schools say there's no problem, teenagers, they're not even buying the thing, then you're just wasting your time. So these are really important moves that we should be doing in the beginning when we're trying to roll out something new to the market. Then let's see what else. Okay, then we explored the different models that they have for going to market, what channels that they want to explore, whether they're going to do retail. The plan that they have was for retail, for bulk purchases. Then they're also hoping to do sponsored distribution. That's for NGOs, non-governmental organizations, who try to serve, who try to take care of groups of people that are underserved. People who should be going to school, but otherwise are not going to school. And I think this is also another part of the channel partner strategy, partner channel strategy that we can explore when you're rolling out stuff in business. Then, let's see, what else? So we discussed all these sorts of things as well. And so if you guys, if you reach out to me, you have me on board to try and solve your go-to-market problems. You're trying to get access. You're trying to roll out something into the market. These are the sorts of things that we're going to be talking about, because it's from exploring all these ideas that I will get a better understanding of what it is that is going on. Sometimes that is how you will get a better understanding of what it is that is going on, you, the business owner. Because there are lots of times that as a business owner, you're running things from memory, you're running things from your head, but you haven't quite thought out everything. And so that's the benefit of having a consultant sometimes, because we ask you a couple of questions and you're like, okay, I never thought of that before, but now that you've asked, we probably should be looking at this, we should be looking at that. So for me, the first order of the day, after all this prelim, all this background chit-chat and getting to know the idea, the first order of the day was to try and take the business owner's sales process, to pull it out of his head and then to throw it back to the rest of the family. Because one problem that businesses have, is that in the beginning, entrepreneur, Oga, MD, CEO, mompreneur, or whoever starts the business. And then they discover a way of selling the product or the service. And after a while, they now hire 2 or 3 people. But the problem is, you hire the 2 or 3 people and you just assume that these people will bring the magic sauce of selling. And then you just release them. You say, go forth and sell. And that's a problem. So I've been trying to educate founders, people running SMEs. I've been trying to get them to understand that those early years in the beginning, those first 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, whatever, when you were the only person who was selling the business, you got to get really, really valuable information, about who the ideal customers are, who the target market is, about how you pitch your product, about how you get referrals, about how you initiate conversations, about how you give a proposal, all these sorts of things. So you actually have a rich reservoir of knowledge sitting in your head as the business owner, and you haven't bothered to teach all these people. You just get 5, 6 people, you say go forth and sell. And then you're now angry that they're not selling. Of course they're not going to sell, because you have a rich reservoir of knowledge in your head. You didn't offload it and then give it to them. And if you're sending people out into the field without saying, this is who you should be chasing after, in my own opinion, I've been selling this thing for 10 years, this is who I think we should be chasing. Go and chase only these people. When you chase them, this is how you start conversations with them. When you have conversations with them, this is how you hook up the meeting. From meeting stage, this is how you make the proposal. From proposal, this is how you get a close. From close, this is how you make sure they are happy. If they are happy, this is how you make sure you get a referral. If they give you a referral, this is how you handle the referral. If you don't teach them all these things, they're trying to discover all these things from scratch. So, theoretically speaking, if it took you 10 years to figure this thing out, and you just take these 5 people and throw them into the field, I mean, who's not to say that it's going to take them another 10 years to figure this thing out? But if you bring these people in, these 4, 5, 6 people, and you say, sell my product or my service on my behalf, and then you now start to offload this thing on them, that look, this is how I started, this is who I used to sell to, these are the only people that I talk to, I ignore this kind of people because these people are time wasters. This is how you figure out somebody who is serious. This is how you figure out a time waster. This is how you make your presentation. This is how you close the deal. If you're negotiating, this is how you price. If you are haggling back and forth, it's like you're pricing groundnut. This is when you should escalate it to me. These are the discounts that you can legitimately give. No need to talk to me if it is a discount of this level. But if they're asking for a discount of this level, then come and meet me. We need to have these sorts of conversations. So when I'm sitting at the table with you guys and I'm trying to orchestrate family meeting here, we're trying to figure out how we can move your business forward. Whoever it is that brings me in at this meeting, whether a CEO, founder, or whoever, even if it's somebody else, director for sales, or whoever is in charge of sales that brings me in, but I get CEO at the meeting, I'm letting you know now, Oga CEO or Oga founder, I'll be asking you some pretty direct and some pretty hard questions, because there's no point in us sitting down here to try and reinvent the wheel. If you have already spent 5, 6, 7, 10 years figuring out who the ideal customer is, we might as well start the conversation from there. So, Oga founder, who do you think is the best person to go after? And why? Where have you gotten the most profit from? Which groups of people have you gotten the most profit from over the last 5 years you've been selling? Stuff like that. So I had a conversation for the head of the business about the ideal customer, the ideal customer profile, the target market, and we got to figure out some really, really interesting things that, based on the sales that founder had already made so far, it was mostly momsies that he was talking to. Funny enough, I thought actually it would be fathers, that would be popsies, that would be. I say this is the reason why you should ask, because if you had called me in, my own guess would be, oh yeah, let's start calling up popsies. But actually, most of the sales was coming from momsy, coming from mothers, and usually mothers who are working professionals, like legal space, procurement space, admin space, a few development professionals there, things like that. But mostly momsies. But if you don't tell your people this sort of thing from the beginning, they might come in like me and just assume that, oh, okay, Shebi is about education and it's about tech and it's about this and that. Well, let's start chasing popsies. That's how we're going to get this thing to sell. Meanwhile, you've done 5 years of work or 10 years of work and you've realized that, no, actually, you go after women. You go after the momsy. And that's how you're going to be able to move this thing into the market. Then we also discussed age range. We also discussed location, average number of children, things like that, because all these things are really, really important. You don't just send salespeople out into the field without giving them a basic sketch of who you're trying to chase. Because if you gather your salespeople, 5, 6, you say, oh yeah, go and sell, go ye and sell, then it's somehow. But then if you gather all of them and you tell them, okay, now, go ye and sell, But as you're selling, make sure that you're talking to mothers who are between 30 and 40 and who work in these kinds of professions and who have on average, 6 to 9 children. Once you say it like that, in their minds, a certain picture will come to their head. That is how the salesperson in your office, once you give that description, the person will know that, oh, okay, Auntie Monica in church. Let me go and talk to Auntie Monica. Because you have given them you've given some demographics, you've given some psychographics, and from there, specific pictures, specific people will come to their mind, and then they will go forth and start selling. So, so that was the first port of call, trying to tease out who the ideal customer profile was. But then, of course, I also set the expectation at the meeting that, look, because we have teased out this information from Oga, does not mean that this is where we're going to spend our time. But it means that this is definitely where we're going to start. And then we'll take feedback from there. Because it's possible that there might be other profitable segments that Oga has not explored. But we will hit the ground running based on the picture of this ICP that we have caught up for now. Then, let's see what else. Okay, also try to get a sense of how he structured the interactions. It turns out that it was kind of 50-50, physical meeting or phone, 50-50. And yes, that tied into what I have been recommending for a very long time on the podcast, and kind of what I suspect. In the beginning, when you're trying to get this thing off the ground, I mean, lots of people go straight to, okay, let's do Instagram, let's do advertising, let's do this, that. Yeah, it's good. But in the beginning, physical meeting, you're seeing them face to face, phone call, very, very helpful. Because as you're having interactions with people, you're going to be getting feedback. What's it called? Body cues, body language, facial expressions, tonality. These are the things that let you know whether somebody is interested, whether somebody is upset, where there's a potential problem, things like that. It helps you to get a better sense of who your ideal customer is and the problems that they face. When you do all this work, the physical meeting and the phone call, you talk to a bunch of people, maybe 20, 30, you sell a few products. Now you have all the data that you need to now start digital campaigns. Because if you get a digital person and you tell the digital person that, look, this is the budget, we're going to be doing Instagram advertising, 50K every month, go ye forth and sell. That's not very helpful, because the person will now start using idea to try and solve the problem. But if you come in and say, digital person, the budget is 50K every month for Instagram advertisements, go ye forth and sell. But as you are selling, these are the people that we're supposed to be targeting. This is the age, this is the location, this is the whatever. Based on the phone conversations that I have with the people, these are the needs that we uncovered. Based on physical meetings, these are the kind of interests that I think they have, and this and this and that and that, and these are the problems that this thing solves. Now, your digital marketing person has all the ammunition that they need to come up with a good campaign, to come up with good copy. Copy is the words that you use in your advertising. Then they have all the information that they need to come up with a good copy. And then they also will now know how to structure the rest of the campaign, the different parameters that they have to tweak in Google or in what's the other one? Instagram or Facebook. Because, you have to select it there. Are we targeting mostly men or women? So, excuse me. So, you have to put it there. Are we targeting mostly men or women? What age? What city? What interest? Sorry, one moment. Let me go have a glass of water. Let me quench my... Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. I'm sure you guys have noticed that I haven't tried out that remedy yet. The remedy that the other ladies told me. They say warm water plus ginger plus honey plus lime. I haven't tried it out yet. So, I think maybe after I pick up the kids from school, I'll try that. Let's see. So basically, I was just trying to say that don't just call your salespeople, don't just call your digital person and say go and sell. There are some things you need to offload from your brain and you need to teach them. And so if I'm working with your organization, I will be talking to whoever it is that has been responsible for selling the most. So if you are the founder, but your wife is the one that has all the sales experience, then I'll have all these. Sorry, excuse me. I'll have all these questions for her about how she's been selling, who she's been talking to, all these sorts of things. Then we also had to tease out of the founder how he was talking about the problem, because we need to know how to start a conversation. It's not a good idea that people are trying to sell on your behalf, and then every single time they're talking to someone, they're trying to use idea about how do we start this conversation. Because the founder was able to pre-sell. What that means is, pre-selling is when you collect money, but you don't have the thing on ground yet. So you collect the money, you use that money to go and manufacture the thing, and then you now give to the people. So he was successful at pre-selling. And the reason why he was doing that was because his conversation points with the momsies, because remember, his mothers that he was talking to mostly. So conversations with momsy was around why IT is important. He was only talking to momsies who already believe that IT is important. And then his conversation was around teacher capacity, basically. Like, look, IT is important. We all know it's important. We want the children to do well. We're heading into a future where IT is going to be important. But teacher capacity in schools is not up to snuff. So we need to use these sorts of things to beef the children's competencies in this, and this, to make sure that they're ready for this new world that we're approaching. So if you call your salespeople and say, go ye forth and sell, you don't tell them this kind of background. They'll be trying to use idea, and they'll be trying to come up with different conversation outlines with different people at different times. But if you have already been selling this thing 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you have found that it is best when you approach the momsy, you start talking about why IT is important, and then from there you slide into teacher capacity, that it is easy to introduce the product, then you're just going to make things a whole lot easier. Send the salespeople out with the proper script that they can start with. Now, this script does not mean, like I said, that because this is how Oga did it, that there's no other way to do it. But the thing is, because Oga has done it for so many years and the thing has worked, it is a nice and easy place to start, and we can refine as we go along. So I was able to tease that out. How he would start the conversation and the elements of his pitch. Then, let's see, what else? Okay, well, one thing which he hadn't done was to get referrals, so we also had to come up with a plan for getting referrals. But I put it on his own plate. That's for the old people to go and get referrals from there, because there's that level of trust and rapport that he built with those people. So, especially given the Nigerian context, it will be somehow like me, Oga, I'm the one that closed all these sales. Then now it's time to get a referral, and I'll be sending the Omoishe, what's Omoishe in English? Junior people, and I'll be sending the junior people to come and chase the referral. So it will be somehow. So I put that on his plate. You're the one that closed all these people, so you're the one who has to be responsible for calling up and getting the referral. Chasing the referral now can be the responsibility of the younger salespeople, but you have to be the one to get the referral, since you're the one that closed the deal, because the relationship is with you, rapport is with you, commonality with you, all those soft personal stuff with you. Then let's see, what else did we discuss? Okay, and then we had some we tried to troubleshoot a couple of scenarios where some salespeople were trying to sell through lesson teachers. Another person was trying to sell through school principals. Another person was trying to sell through teachers in schools. So we tried to troubleshoot those approaches and then come up with frameworks or guidelines for how they could be more efficient at that approach. So remember what I said in the beginning about how the way that Oga does it is not. Sorry, one moment. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. Just need to go drink something and ease out the throat. So I was saying that at the beginning, you know how I was saying that the way that Oga has done it or the founder has done it doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way that we're going to do, but it's a safe place to start. Because in this situation now, you can see how the way Oga started and the way that Oga did it for, XYZ number of months or years was to approach momsies of a certain age, of a certain profession, who live in a certain part of Nigeria, and blah, 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 and get to sell. But now that we have sent out a sales team, you can see that the sales teams are trying out different things. Somebody's going through lesson teacher, somebody's going through principal, somebody's going through classroom teacher. So you can see that, there are different ways to go about this. So, the way Oga has done it doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way. But if we start off the way that Oga has done it and take the key insights about how Oga has been running it, we can now use that to enrich how we're going to go about talking to lesson teachers, talking to classroom teachers, talking to principals, and talking to other people to try and sell these products. So, let's see, what else? Well, like I said, it was a whole lot. And if I want to go through every single item, all the notes that I made that day, we're going to be here for a long time. But summary, what it is I'm trying to say is, you have a problem, you think you can do sales better, you want to call me in, just know, Sha, that this is going to be the general approach that we're going to take. I'm not just going to be talking to whoever it is that brought me into the organization. I'm going to be talking to a bunch of other people, because other people's insights, other people's opinions, other people's expertise are important to move the business forward. And apart from that, there are going to be recommendations that I will be making about how you run your business that other people are going to have to execute. We might as well have those people as part of the process from day one, because if you bring me into the organization and I'm talking to only you, I give only you my recommendations, I collect the money, and then I leave, what will happen is you will now say, okay, Oga marketing person, let's do this. Oga sales, let's do this. Oga admin, let's do this. Or Oga social media, let's do this. And if they don't listen to you, then it will now look as if you spend a bunch of money, hundreds of thousands of naira, you brought me in, came up with plans, the plans didn't work. The thing will now look bad on you. It will reflect real bad on you, like you wasted company money. And to be honest, it's going to reflect badly on me as well. Because they'll be seeing me on social media and they'll be like, look at this guy, just talk you up and down. Meanwhile, he's a dunce. His head is empty. He's not saying anything that makes sense. So that's the reason why I bring all these people in early as possible, make them a part of the process, get buy-in from everybody, get people's opinions about what can work, so that we come up with a concrete plan. So that by the time I collect my money and I go, and you guys are there and you're implementing, of course, I'll be checking up with you guys from time to time to make sure that implementation is successful. Implementation will be a whole lot smoother because we all discussed as a family from the beginning. And that is why I will always call these things family meetings, and I'll try and ferment problems, because I need to know what Oga social media or Oga marketing, head of marketing, I need to know what the guy thinks now that I'm here. Not that I finish, I leave, and then the guy will now start speaking his mind when I'm not there. So I try and ferment trouble so that whatever is at the back of his mind, let him spit it now. Let her say it now. And let us deal with it now. So that when we table proposals on the table and we come up with a plan of action, everybody has spoken their mind. And we'll now come up with a simple, honest strategy that everybody can be on board with and can execute. So that's my process pretty much. And for those of you who are thinking of bringing a new product to the market, I hope you've been able to learn a couple of things from this founder's approach about how to go about talking with to other stakeholders, and other things that you might consider in rolling out your product and your service. Because this whole thing, even though they had not considered trying to align their own rollout with the government, what's it called again? Sorry, let me look at my notes, because my notes were scattered. Even though he hadn't thought about the natural digital literacy framework, what was I trying to say? And even though they had not considered it, there definitely is merit to trying to find out, okay, what's the government doing? How is the government rolling out? How can we piggyback off of all these moves that the government is going to be making to introduce our product or service into the market? So you're introducing a new product, introducing a new service, especially those of you in the tech space. I hope you're learning a couple of things from this founder's approach. So that's it pretty much for today's episode. Like I said, it was a rambling episode, so we're talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but I hope it's been able to expose you guys to my thought process so that when we do get to work together, eventually, we already know ourselves, we already know where I'm coming from. The onus will now be on me to learn you guys, figure you guys out, and yes, I will try and foment some trouble. Not because I like quarrel, but because I need to know what I need to know what they're thinking right now. Let them speak their mind, so we can make progress. I was going to say forever hold peace, but this one is business. There's no hold peace. It'll be sabotage up and down if we don't get what people are really thinking about. So that's it for today. I'll try and make sure that tomorrow's episode is going to be much more structured, so we can just head straight to the point. So once again, contact details for people who have questions. And please submit questions so that you can shape the trajectory of this podcast so that it speaks to things that are relevant to you trying to improve your own sales career or trying to improve the finances of your business. So reach out to me. The phone number is 080-6466-2140. Country code is +234. Then on LinkedIn, you will find me, Tavishima Ayede. Check the link where you're currently listening to this episode. Highlight my name, copy, paste in LinkedIn, and then you will see my profile. Send me a connection request, and we can continue the conversation there. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.